didn't know you were coming. They never told me.
Okay.
All right, we have our quorum, so we will call the September 12th Architecture Review Board meeting to order. Steve, if you could call the rolls for us.
All right, let's see here. All right, Joe Clark.
Here.
Pam Langen.
Here?
Robert Heimroll.
Here.
Alderperson Russ.
Here.
Jerry Jones.
Yep.
And Dave Aldag was going to be missing, and we haven't heard from Dick. Thank you, Joe.
But we have a quorum, so we should be good to proceed. If I could please ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And any potential conflicts of interest for our board members today?
Yes.
Bob? So Bob will be abstaining on, let's see, item number 6. No, sorry, looking at the wrong one. Yes, item number 6 from this meeting too. Yeah. All right, so then we're looking for an approval from our minutes from the August 22nd meeting.
Move to approve. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Thank you. Brings us to item number 5, the proposed construction of a new car wash and quick lube and emission testing facility for Sheboygan Auto Group at 2701 Washington Avenue. If that team could come to the podium, and I believe there may be someone on the phone.
I believe that it's 2 of us members that are present for it, but they're all remotely as we were out of state for this project. So you have the architectural team, which is Tom Squires and Kyle Jamison from Design Art Group. And then we have the representative of the owners, which is Nate Herbst with Rydell Automotive Corporation for this.
Great.
Then you guys get to look at me, Jason Day with Excel.
All right. So Jason or Tom, whoever is going to be presenting this, if you could just give us a quick synopsis of what's being proposed. We have the drawings and we can pull those up on the screen.
You want the site plan, Jason, up first at all, or do you want to just go straight to the elevations?
Site plan's fine if we just want to talk about that briefly, and can let the architects then kind of go through the building architecture component of it. So I'm sure you guys are quite familiar of this look off of Washington Avenue. Currently what exists out there is the Quick Lube building, which is located on the left, and then a 2-bay car wash located on the right-hand side there. And what the group is looking to do is eliminating both of those buildings and replacing it with one single building, essentially. I don't know if you can zoom in on that, Steve.
Is that close enough for?
Yeah, that's fine. So what this represents is basically a dual building that'll house both the car wash, which are the 2 bays located on the east side of the building, basically on the right side there. You'll have an office area, bathrooms kind of just left of that. There will be 3 quick lube service bays just left of that, which will have an 8-foot pit for oil changes and whatnot, as well as for storage of materials and oil, waste oil, things like that. And then on the far left, that'll be a designated emissions test lane, essentially. then what we'll do is, yeah, if you want to flip to that, we'll reconfigure all the line striping out there in the vicinity of what was the two existing buildings as well. And, allowing the new building to fit, reconfiguring striping for the vehicle lanes, and then filling in where the old buildings were with vehicle parking and vehicle storage. I know it was mentioned in one of the staff comments about the dumpster enclosure not having one. We will be proposing one, most likely on the west side of the building. Right now we're thinking split face masonry block, and that'll be painted to match the main color of the building. And then for the gates, we'll be looking at steel construction with either cedar wood painted, or we'll do, the Trex composite, no maintenance material. Guys, I don't know if you want to talk about the architecture a little bit.
Sure. Yeah. So this is Kyle Jameson from Designer Group, and it's like that is the most updated elevations that we have. So we're using 3 colors, all pre-finished metal panels on the outside, and what we're doing is essentially variations of those colors in order to break up the facade. The north elevation is the elevation that will be street facing. So by breaking it up into its different components of car wash and shop space, as well as that center, I believe the color that they call that is, it's not champagne. Champagne is the white color, but the gold flake type of color that the signage is on is that center portion, and that is actually pushed out plane compared to the rest of the building. And so it's just a variation of depths and colors in a way to break up what is otherwise a pretty large facade. And then we also are using glass overhead doors in order to break that up as well. And the major entrance is going to be on the south side, south elevation, where the lobby entrance is, as well as the queuing of the lines for vehicles coming in is going to be. There's going to be signage on both sides of that, as well as possible signage on the west side. I think part of this was part of this project was asking for a the signage.
Yeah, there's some questions about signage, and that would be before Plan Commission tomorrow. So you don't have to worry too much about that tonight, other than just describing a little bit of what you guys are looking at.
Sure. So if we don't have to worry about that, the other thing is that central gold portion on that kind of runs north to south on there, that is has a lower parapet, or a lower roof with a taller parapet, and that's where we're going to put most of the mechanical equipment in order to hide that from the street facing as well as customer facing sides.
So part of what we defined is the elevations of these buildings were also designed to help step and break up the facade a little bit, so that there was the variations in heights to make this easier to visually see and not be so harsh on the side, but yet complementing the 2 car dealerships that are also on the site. And like Kyle was saying, that the doors and the color variations were designed to help break up the facade, and then with additional bump outs in certain areas of it, our intent is to try to help it so that it's not a smooth face, to adjust, I guess, to what the responding up to the city culture is around there, with some unique flair to the building, but not standing as an intrusive invasion to it. Any questions, I guess, you have for the exterior that I could help assist answer for you?
Yeah, I will start out with those. You mentioned the complementary to the other buildings on the site. I guess I'd like just a little more clarification on that, since it appears to be so different in color from the other buildings. It'll definitely stand out, and I like it as a building. Just curious thought process with being so different from the color schemes already out there.
So I can address these. This is Nate Herbst, the applicant with the Red L Company. There's 3 primary colors, and one of them is champagne metallic. It's a silver ACM paneling that's probably the primary color on the building, and that color really kind of ties the building into both the Chevrolet facility and the Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram facility. But yet, those are, franchises, they're OEMs, they're manufacturers that tell us what colors we need to have in order to be compliant with those brands. So we have one color that ties the facility into both the manufacturers, and then we have 2 colors that are the manufacturers, because this is an independent facility. It's not synonymous with GM, Chevrolet. It's not synonymous with Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and we felt that was important to make sure they blended in, but this facility is also unique to itself.
Okay. And then a couple of other detailing questions. The yellow, I think you called it the gold flake color. It seems like where that generally falls on the building, it protrudes out from the rest of the facade, with the exception of the west elevation. Although that may have changed from what I had previously.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
I was out of town last week, and I got an opportunity to get the new drawings that they had previously sent to me attached. So there could be some changes that may have addressed some of those issues.
All right.
Not
Well, that's
sure.
That does answer that question. The revised drawings take care of that issue. The second question I had was the band of the gray ephes. I think you still have it as the ephes.
I believe the council chambers is muted.
Technical issues. So you can't hear us right now?
We can now.
Okay. Okay, thanks. So on the east elevation, where you have the building step and you transition from the metal panels in the gold flake color on either ends of that high element, and then you go to ephes in a gray running above the roof wall connection there. Just curious if that was something that could be maintained as the yellow metal material, even eliminate, I think that was the only ephes on the building, just so that yellow element is more continuous.
Yeah, so on what you're seeing on that sort of black color is, if you go to either the north or south elevation,
North or south?
yeah. So on this elevation right here, on the south elevation, that black wall is actually a continuation of that larger mass with the overhead doors. So it's actually, when looking at that south elevation, it would be the east side of where the gold flake color is, where that wall exists. You're just, kind of seeing through, since there's no mechanical or anything showing on that elevation where you see the ephes. And so it's inset quite a ways from that gold flake color.
And being most of your mechanical equipment's going to be a grayer tone, it would be more advantageous that it's going to blend in with the darker gray and not stand out from that east side as you would approach from that direction. versus trying to go to a gold flake, you're going to have a tendency to see any of that equipment more so stand out against a gold background as you would to a gray colored background to it. That would be my only reason for wanting to keep it to a darker color tone, is to help hide somewhat of the mechanical equipment that would be along that face, and still having some break up to the exterior look of the facade.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I see that with the ladder placement on the north and south elevations. Which then leads into my next question, which was, you've got the big parapet, you said, around the lube bays. What about equipment above the car wash? What equipment is there, and is that also screened? What is the parapet height there relative to the equipment?
So all of the equipment from the car wash will be above the lobby space. Otherwise, most of it is internal, next to the lobby, and sort of what we've been calling the core space, which is the lobby, restrooms, locker rooms. All of that is sort of that gold area with the champagne color next to it. That is the core. Yeah, right in there, that long, skinny mechanical space next to the lobby, in between the lobby and the car wash. There's going to be a lot of things for that car wash specifically in there. If there's anything that needs to go up on the roof, it's going to go above that lobby.
But you're saying that is all exposed from the east, so we would be seeing it there on the east elevation?
You would see some of it from the east elevation, but all of the equipment is way up against that backside of that building again. Most of the equipment is going to be a couple rooftop units. I think there's a total of 2. They might have added a third one, but there's 2 rooftop units.
Question mark?
Mm-hmm. So if we were to if we needed to put something in there, would like a mechanical louvered screen system along that face that is basically matches the color scheme to the building, would that be the other alternative acceptable option if need be? If it was too visible from a long ways away?
As I'm envisioning what you're describing, that would be ideal. To kind of create a third side or fourth side on that raised gold flake element that then hides the equipment behind it. I guess looking at the sight lines from the east as you start to drive up to the site, just looking to see what those are relative to the height of the equipment. I think that would be critical. I said, as I'm picturing that drive-through from the west coming toward the east, I think that's probably going to be visible, but then some sort of screening there would be great. And if color-wise it can tie into that yellow flake, that would be fantastic. But even something just more subdued there would be okay too with me. And then going back to one of the questions, the dumpster enclosure, you said that is on the west side, so that's, or maybe I misheard that. Is it on the west or is it on the east side, closer to the car?
It will be on the west side. I believe it is not incorporated into our elevations quite yet,
Okay.
but it will be. I believe if you zoom in there on the site plan, it is showing
Yeah.
on the west side, roughly halfway.
So
I know there's a transformer there.
Oh, that's the transformer. Yeah.
do the
It
car?
would be between the transformer and that northwest door.
Okay.
And that transformer is likely going to shift locations based on discussion with the power company.
And where is that going?
Yeah. Shift to where? Do you know that yet?
Based on discussion with power company, I believe they want to locate it on the east side of this facility, this newly proposed facility, so that we can temporarily feed the existing quick lube during construction.
Looks as if that's going to be getting a little tight to your drive lane there.
Yeah, most likely we'd fit it into that cross hatching on the east side. And if we gotta slide the building over a few feet, we'll wanna maintain that 24-foot wide drive.
And just concerned with whatever screenings around that transformer being right up to that driveway. A little buffer there would be nice. I guess that's something wherever it ends up and whatever's proposed would need to come back through city for staff review at least for that.
Yep.
Do the car wash bays still have vacuums associated with them?
No.
No? Okay. So I know the current ones, there's a dumpster out there where people are cleaning out stuff. So just looking to see if there was any of that was going to happen later, that people are going to be looking for dumpsters out there, that just so we don't get something wheeled out there for convenience that isn't tied into the project now. Sounds like
Our discussions were to remove the dumpsters in the back.
okay. All right, I've been monopolizing the conversation here, but that addresses everything that was on my list. Other concerns from board members?
Mine are more related to the use for tomorrow's meeting, so I'll wait until then.
All right, and Zach, is your mic active?
Oops, I'm sorry. So I know as an electrician that the utility, they can come in, no matter what, if you have a perfect plan of where it's going to go, they can come in and be like, no, not really. Yeah. So like, we can plan all we want, where we want this, and say where we want it, but at the end of the day, they have a monopoly over it.
Sure.
So, I mean, it's good to have a general idea, but I've been in installs where I come in, we have everything planned just perfect, and then they're like, actually, we're going to do it a different way now. So you have to move everything. Just idea in the back of your head.
Appreciate that, and that's one of the things, like, from a staff perspective, we're just looking to try to keep those screened. I'm sure you guys too, because that would be basically as you enter the site, so yeah, appreciate that.
So we have been in touch with Alliant Energy. I wouldn't say we've gone to great lengths yet, but we have had multiple conversations with them because one of the challenges with this project is we're trying to keep the existing quick lane operational until the new facility is built. We're gonna lose our car wash for a period of time, but we really can't afford to lose both facilities. So Alliant Energy is pretty instrumental in helping us figure out how to maintain service to a facility, and then looking forward to how does that look when that facility's gone and the new facility's up, and have a few options from them. And they're really pushing us to locate the transformer on the east side of the new facility so that we can maintain the current facility during construction and then take it back out of service. But we understand the need to screen, but also have to meet Alliance requirements at the end of the day with access to that transformer, all that sort of stuff as well.
I think the things to think about there are, in its present location, it's just next to parking spaces. Where you're talking about putting it now is going to be in a travel lane, so be, more susceptible to vehicles, I guess you could say.
Sure.
Although if I'm reading it right, that isn't your main drive lane. You're still coming in from the lights a little further to the east, so you'd be driving down south of the facility and circling back. So it's maybe not as big of a concern as if it was right next to that main drive lane.
And no matter where it ends up, I mean, if we have to put a few bollards in and protective curb around it, we're gonna do what we have to do to protect that equipment, so, and provide the adequate screening as well.
Which actually brings up the question of landscaping, whether that was reviewed by
Yeah,
us.
I mean, it's part of our review a little bit tomorrow, but they kind of show a little bit along, in this case, they're screening the transformer a little bit at their entranceways and things like that, so they might be asking for a few exceptions for foundation plantings and things like that, and relocating the number of points. But this is so far what we've received.
Location exceptions?
Yeah.
Yep.
So we talked with Plan Commission tomorrow.
Other questions or concerns?
I'll make a motion to approve subject to staff recommendations and your additions. Which you'll restate happily.
And what I had in my notes were to be resubmitting plans to address the finalized transformer and dumpster locations and enclosures
Staff level, correct? Yeah.
to a staff level. Granted, if staff has concerns with those, it may get kicked back to architecture review, but hopefully that can be just resolved with Steve.
Yep.
And then the other thing was the sight lines to the rooftop units or any equipment on the roof. And if need be, adding that additional screening and just getting elevations updated with that.
Sure.
So based on those,
In a second.
those were the
That's correct.
items that you wanted on there, Jim?
Yes, it was.
And everyone's clear on what we're voting on. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is approved. Great. Thank you
Thank you,
very much.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 6, the proposed construction of an addition and exterior remodeling for the dermatology clinic at 832 Michigan Avenue. If the Abacus team could come forward and make introductions and give us a brief rundown on what you're proposing there, please.
Hi, I'm Suzanne McGoey of McGoey Dermatology.
Hello.
Keith Solon with Abacus Architects. So I guess drawing wise, if you want to bring those up, I see you're
Sounds good.
building those now.
Looks as if we've stepped away from our drawings, so we'll
Sure.
bring them right back up here.
So the proposed project that we have here is an existing vacant building. It's currently unoccupied. It used to be an old collections building at one point. And
Keith, if I
before
could
that-
interrupt and have you step to the podium so
Sure.
it gets picked up in the mic, just so our
Can you hear me better?
recording gets.
So we're converting an existing building. It's a currently unoccupied building. Previously, it used to be a collections agency. Prior to that was a automotive garage. Right now, we're looking to renovate it to a dermatology clinic. So with this, we've got some existing spaces inside, and we have a portico share that's off to one side that's existing. We're looking to infill that portico share, turn it into a waiting room and reception area. Then on the southeast side of the building, we're looking to put on a little extension to add a couple of exam rooms and a stair down to the lower level. So renderings you're looking at here, this would be the front side of the building, which is actually not facing Michigan. It's actually facing the side street, 9th. The curved window on the top that you see off, that's the existing portico share that we're looking to infill. And that'd be the existing structure that creates that column wrap around that window. From the left there's currently an asphalt roof, a little mansard roof that's on the side of it. We're looking to peel that off, turn all the asphalt into standing seam. But with doing this little addition in the portico share, we're looking to pull the face of that wall out to align with the wall that's just to the left to give us a little bit more room for a waiting room and a true vestibule coming into the space. So that will change the slope of that roof just slightly. We're looking to add some kind of aesthetic glulam beams to look like it's holding and supporting that roof. That standing seam would be like a dark bronze color to match then the storefront and windows that we have. The renderings here, the top one, this is a little farther left in the view. These used to be the old bays that led into the garage. They were filled in with windows and walls at one time. We're looking to retain most of that. The one window on the far left, we're looking to switch out, make it a little smaller to work with the footprint inside. There is an existing mansard roof along what would have been over those garages, which is over those windows now. That is also asphalt roof. We're looking to peel that off and make it all the standing seam. The style of this building was an existing kind of a Spanish style. It has clay tile roofs along some of the white main portions of the building. We're looking to peel some of that off, turn it into a little bit more traditional style. the Spanish clay tiles would all be removed. Change that to a kind of a metal cap flashing to match the standing seam. The facade is kind of that light pale color. We're looking to paint it new. One option we're looking at is skim coating the existing structure. Right now it's metal lath and plaster. Very hard to clean and maintain, so we're looking to potentially skim coat it, make it all a flush look, and not have that Spanish style curved look you'll see in some of the photos. Barring not being able to do that, depending on how the suppliers come back with adhering to that existing material, we may have a concern with that. If there is, we're just going to look at repainting the facade with a nice light gray color. Also along the front, at a couple of the column bump out areas, we're looking to add a little stone veneer, give it a little bit of a base, kind of a cultured stone look with a little bit of a precast cap on top of that. All the windows around the new waiting area would be an aluminum frame, like a Gaunier type system. The windows around the building, some of them are existing wood windows, some of them are glass block windows. We're looking to update the glass blocks, pull it all out, put it in a new aluminum clad wood windows to match the other windows that we're proposing. Along the new addition on the right side where we're bumping out the building, you can see on that rendering there, we're looking to put in 2 more exam rooms with a stair that leads down to the lower level. In that building, we're looking to put on a wood stud building, non-combustible construction type 5A, or type 5B, sorry. This facade of that would be just an ephes on top of the wood stud backup. The ephes would be colored to match what we would do the rest of the building, so it would all be that light gray color. We are proposing a small little mansard roof on that addition as well, except it would only be on the 2 sides that face Michigan. The backside towards the property, which is actually coming right up to an existing building, we're looking to slope the structure down in that direction with curb and gutter to collect. A gutter and down spot to collect. We're proposing in this curved area, which is along Michigan, infilling that with a patio and putting in a fencing around the perimeter. We showed 2 options here. We're looking at different concepts of what we're going to purchase for fencing. We kind of like the double rail on the top, but we got to dig into the actual manufacturer for that. So that's why we proposed 2 different options there. So that's the main concept on the exterior. I'm sure Suzanne could talk more about what the facility is proposing to do.
Sure. The only addition I would have to the exteriors is currently basically broken concrete and also not paved in the majority of it. So in addition to cleaning up the exterior of the building, we'll be also repaving, remarking, and then re-landscaping everything so you can see the building from the street. Do you guys want to know outside only or inside? What is your...
We're actually only addressing the outside, so whatever's happening inside, unless it relates directly to the facade.
Perfect.
Really out of our venue. Yeah.
So the only other thing that we didn't discuss is signage. We do plan on bringing things before the, with the sign permits and whatnot, but we're planning on likely a monument sign abiding by all the regulations. I can't name all of them, but 15 feet away and not obscuring the view of traffic, et cetera. So we are working on that aspect as well. Not planning on a building mounted sign. And the other variation that we didn't discuss is the window itself. Right now, we would ideally like to do that curved window that matches the existing opening to the basically closed-in reception area, but it's going to be a supply chain question about availability. So we did present the option of it having just more of that square front. In addition to the exterior and the fence, those were basically the options. There is a 4th option you'll see there where we were discussing whether or not we're going to do the stairwell, but we are planning on moving forward with the stairwell, but that's relevant more to the interior. Happy to take any questions.
Great, thank you. I guess first off with the alternates, since there were a lot of them and there were questions, could you go either way on those? Maybe to address those first, from my perspective, I didn't have a problem with whichever way you went on those alternates. I thought they were all relatively similar, and I certainly understand the supply chain issues at the moment. Any other concerns or things that the board saw that they would like to push one way or the other on those alternates?
My big question is, it's not really huge, but on the patio, what's the function of the patio? Just a seating area or?
Plan is basically as a seating area, so whether it's patients on a nice day want to go outside and sit, or staff having lunch breaks out time outside, we thought it'd be nice to get sort of foot traffic views for Michigan Avenue, especially through that redevelopment, so our plan was to try to make that more of an approachable space.
Yeah, and with that in mind, I would probably vote for the lower fence. That's just me.
Sure.
Just so you can have more of a sight line view versus the higher rail. It comes down to are you keeping something in or out? kind of
Sure,
mentality.
to be perfectly honest, our plan was to go with possible with the higher one, that's why we did put in for the exception.
Okay.
Our concern, partially availability of that fence and the structure of it, it's not able to be cut down lower
Got it.
because of where that bottom bar is. The other part is this area of town does have a lot of bars at night. And given that our traffic is basically business hour traffic and then it goes dark and then there is bar traffic, we do want to make sure that we maintain the exterior in great condition throughout the course of our use of it.
Sure.
I was going to mention the bars and comfy
Oh, yeah,
furniture
yeah.
in there. High
Right.
fences may be good. But that is one of the concerns. That's going to be such a visible corner for that patio. Just making sure that it doesn't end up being a space that collects clutter.
I hate clutter.
Good
The
answer.
entire design inside of the clinic, which is relevant tomorrow, is to be not clutter. So if there is one theme of how I plan on designing everything, is no clutter. So to me, this is very much a professional space where I plan on spending my entire career. I've lived here for 6 years now. I plan on setting up shop and staying here and raising my family here. And so I do not want to ever have to move out of this space. So the maintenance of
Elements of the character. And as long as this is done sort of clean and nicely, it should work out well. One of the things, if you stay on this view, Steve, at the main entry where you've got the existing portico share and you're adding the sloped roof area coming out from that, one of the things that had jumped out at me was that now that portico share, the arched element with the piers on the side, is getting integrated into the new wall coming out. I'd wondered if there was a possibility to introduce another glass frame element that would butt up against that arched original portico share, just to set that off as a separate piece.
Are you
So-
referring to the side of the vestibule basically being
Yes.
glass? I actually, if they can speak up, but I believe that we were told from a support structure it had to be solid surface. We actually originally had designed it as glass, but it couldn't support the new addition.
Yep, so what happened there, the original design was to have glass there. With the pushing out of the frame, since we're changing the slope of this structure and we're attaching to an existing steel beam, structural engineer needs a chunk of shear wall in order to keep the moment frame of that piece together. So we had to compromise and give a chunk of wall back to create a shear wall.
And
We
did you-
can look at another option where we can get some glass in, a very little bit of piece of glass. We'll have to actually shorten the vestibule on the inside and bring the shear wall in past the column instead of butting up to the column. So there'll be a little bit of jut inside the building that we'd have to address.
Hearing that for the first time, I don't like that as an option.
Yeah.
Aesthetically, I love the window. I think that what's gonna happen is you're gonna get a lot of natural white light, so on the other side, on the patio side, it's all basically storefront window. So you will get a lot of that, natural lighting into the space, and everything is really going to be light colored. I like smooth lines. I don't like a lot of indents and juts and things that sort of affect that smooth transition between areas. Obviously, I would prefer a window, but I do like my building to be standing by the end of this.
That's always a good result. And it wasn't so much the windows as just trying to keep the character of that original end of the portico share
Sure.
as sort of a feature. The other side where I had questions was on the Michigan side, where none of your renderings actually showed the end of the building that will be the other side visible from Michigan. It's sort of tucked back against the adjacent building. But as you come from the east, you are going to get a little shot. You go back up to the
Yeah, we do
rendering
have
above,
that
Steve.
exterior elevation if you want to look at that one. We can go through that.
That whole addition end out to Michigan is pretty straightforward and simple. And with that being, even if it isn't the main facade, it's sort of the most public facade. So it just seemed like that addition, getting a little more character to it, would be nice. But understanding what's happening inside, I know you're restricted with what you can do with openings. That was actually an area where I wondered if signage would help you. Something on the building, just to give a little more intentionality to that end.
Sure. When you're talking about the visibility, are you talking about basically that sort of as the V comes out, that other side of the new addition, not the
Yes.
short side, but the long side?
I think it was
Can
the
you get the
short
elevation
side.
Is
It would
this
be,
what you're talking
yeah,
about?
that view where Steve's highlighting with the cursor, that as you come past the little print shop,
Sure.
you come out so close to Michigan, and you're fairly tight with the corner of the addition to that building, but there's still just a big blank facade coming out at an angle from that before it angles back to another relatively blank facade with just a couple of windows. Yes, the patio is a focal piece, but the building itself is feeling kind of underrepresented there.
So is your major concern of side, that short side you think you're going to see, or the long side on the patio?
It's a bit of both.
Okay. So in speaking from the patio side, that is functional space, so that is exam room space. So I actually, from like a window perspective, I don't know if that's what you're looking for. I can't have it too large just from a patient privacy point of view. I don't know.
Steve,
That's,
Yeah.
is the elevations in there?
I don't think my last set, I didn't think.
it'd be in the conditional use permit, the one for tomorrow.
Oh, here it is. We got something in
It
here.
should be in the PDF.
I'll pass this one around so you can see this. Oh, yeah, there is it in there?
I just-
Am I just
You'll see
missing it?
some of it, because
Okay.
it sets back to the building. And right up, down a couple. 47, 48, there you go, 48.
Oh, I'm sorry, my
Next page.
bad, I missed those.
So yes, so there's a blank facade there. We could add a little bit of window, if you look at that one
This,
there.
right here?
Yeah. So that,
And then one thing to keep in mind, because we are 2 feet from the property line, we are required to have exterior rated walls there. So we're gonna limit the openings to begin with, but we could introduce another change in material or introducing a false column where we introduce a little bit of a wrap on it, to give it a little bit of a breakup, something like that.
yeah. I don't know what the solution is. It just seemed that that part of the building was architecturally not real well developed, but it's going to be real prominent on Michigan Avenue. So just making sure that feels appropriately detailed. The current building, even though it's set back at that location, there's actually a fairly nice decorative element back there that we're losing. So just concerned, I don't want that facade to be too bland on Michigan. Yeah, the tree hides it there, but there's going the other way, there's another nice little tower element.
I drove by there.
And then that ties in, that, again, not looking to have you replicate the mission-style bell tower fakery.
Right.
But maybe it's picking up on something with the arch of the portico share to just have a slight recess on the facade. Maybe the windows there, if those are into the clinic, maybe having them full height to the patio isn't the best thing. If a clear story band would be better through there.
I don't understand. Do you mind explaining that one?
Instead of having the windows be a standard height, sort of from regular sill up to head height, moving the whole thing up higher so the sill would be above sight line.
From a functionality point of view, that's one of my most important aspects of being able to do a skin check is the light at that level.
Okay.
Just because I use, so my exam tables are all actually facing the natural light in order to be able to get that to identify skin cancer. So changing the height of that would change the functionality of the space.
I guess I was questioning whether the one on the second one is to a corridor, but the window into the exam room, whether that's going to have blinds on it anyway, just that you don't want public sight lines in.
Frosting.
Okay.
So I would still actually maintain all the natural light coming through it. And then the other one that is to a hallway was just put at the same height to match so that aesthetically it maintained an even line. So the one on the left is hallway, the one on the right is room.
And in this space over here,
Yeah, so we can look at
And
something
that
there.
space is part into the room.
Yeah, maybe we can introduce a curve in the reveal in the ephes or something, give it a little color. Or introduce
Phil, hey?
column bunk to give it some aesthetic light
Yeah, and-
to it.
Personally, it just feels like a part of the building that needs a little more attention. I don't know if anyone else agrees. You may completely disagree with me that simple is better. Other thoughts from the board on that?
No, I agree. I just think we have to come off the window idea, sounds like, but I think a little character to that wall would be okay.
And then you point out the rooftop unit, saying it's the same height as the existing, which in elevation, I was having a hard time wrapping my brain around. In the existing photos and street view, you do really only see just a sliver of the existing rooftop above the roof lines. And in elevation, that was so prominent. I was having a hard time figuring that what we're seeing here, if you zoom in on the street view again, Steve.
Is that the right angle?
Yeah, you're seeing above that second window where the TV antenna is.
Yep.
I think
There's a
that's
little
that rooftop unit. We're just seeing a sliver, which
That's
to me is
correct.
great. If that's just being replaced, same height, same size, then I'm not actually seeing a need to screen that.
No,
It is
I would say no.
already screened, even though I'm surprised.
There is like a 3-foot mansard roof on that side, which I think we're kind of not depicting well in the elevations there. But in the existing, that mansard does come higher than the roof elevation by about 3 feet. So that's why you're only seeing that little bit of sliver in the actual street view. So there is a big change in elevation behind that mansard asphalt roof there.
But that mansard roof height is being maintained.
Correct,
right?
yes.
Yeah,
So, yes.
okay. And then I think my only other question was on the roof edge detail, where it's currently the clay tile on the upper elements, and there's just a little clay tile cap.
Yep.
You're replacing that with the metal roof, and it's basically just showing as a line in the elevations. I'm curious what kind of actual treatment for that roof edge detail, whether there's a fascia, whether it's a drip edge.
There'll be a small fascia on it. We're looking at just a pre-finished metal cap on it, so there'll be about a 2-inch overhang, and then pitch it off the top to get the water to slope on top.
That's one of those elements that it's, that level of detail in the construction is going to make a big difference in how the whole building feels. If it's done well and neat and tidy, it'll be great.
Yep.
But there's potential for it not to be done well and for it to end up looking cheap when it's finished.
Sure.
And can't tell from this which way it's going, so it sounds like your owner's going to want to make sure that it's the right way, so.
Yep, absolutely.
Other questions or comments?
Yeah, it's just a great relief to get a different building there.
We're here. In that case,
Propose to approve as submitted with the, I guess, alteration that's acceptable to staff on the, what elevation is that, the east?
it'll be the southeast
South.
elevation
Southeast
of
elevation?
the two faces angled towards the south elevation, facing Michigan.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Bob's abstaining, and it is approved, right?
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
All right, thank you. See you tomorrow.
and good luck to you.
Thank you.
And our next meeting is currently scheduled for the 26th,
Yeah,
so in
we'll have
2
one.
weeks, and are having one, so.
Allegedly.
Nope, not allegedly, are happening.
So please respond when Lene sends out the info to make sure we have a quorum set up. Otherwise, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We stand adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.